I've said it many times before, and once again today it holds true. An ATV is much more than just the sum of its parts. With that said, if a number of key parts aren't up to the task, the entire ATV can suffer. And this is how it's been for Arctic Cat's smaller ATVs in the past. The majority of their parts suggest a solid ATV, but their motors have let us down. Arctic Cat's new 450 EFI is worlds ahead from any other small bore ATV we've seen from them in the past. It not only matches the capabilities of this full-size chassis, but it outshines them in a big way. And this is, of course, all in context. We're not talking about big bore or even a mid-bore ATV. The 400-450 class is about as small as you can go before you get into downscaled chassis in youth ATVs. So when we talk about how impressive this engine is, we're not suggesting you sell your Thundercat to get one. But if you're a current 366 Arctic Cat owner, or if you own a 400 class ATV from another manufacturer, this bike, with this engine, may give you a reason to switch. From a dead stop, 443 cc's of liquid-cooled 4-valve EFI power will impress you. It impressed us, and we didn't stop grinning until the CVT shifted out in the high 50s. Sure, your 500 or 800 cc bike has no issue with this type of top end, but from what we can tell, for a 450 class ATV, this is a respectable achievement, not only in terms of top speed, but also in how little time it takes to get there. Other 450s can go this fast, but few can pull this hard all along the way. And thanks to its EFI system, a unique feature in this class, it starts and runs smooth as butter every time. If you're comparing this bike to others in its class, it gets big points because it's in a full-size chassis. But if you judge this chassis just based on its own ride and handling, it does leave a bit to be desired. We harp on Arctic Cat constantly for their stiff suspension settings and odd understeer-oversteer handling traits at speed. Handling-wise, pretty much every Arctic Cat we've tested handles the same way. At low speeds, it's quick and works well for picking through rocks or tight trail sections. But bring the speeds up a few notches and suddenly this quick handling is preceded by a moment of understeer, where the wheels begin to push. The rider tends to compensate for this by steering into the corner harder, which results in an abrupt shift to an oversteering situation and the feeling like the bike is biting too hard up front. On a bike like the 450, these traits are softened because it's neither as heavy or as fast as bigger Arctic Cats. With that said, they are still present on this ATV, and we think it's something Arctic Cat can improve on. In the suspension department, we always run into the paradox of stiff versus tall on an Arctic Cat, and the 450 is no different. There's no sway bar in this ATV, so to compensate for the lack of body roll control a sway bar would provide, the fully independent front and rear suspension is set up extra stiff. A stiff ride may not be desirable in many situations, but put this ATV on a super rocky section of trail or gnarly mud section, and suddenly its jacked up suspension becomes a thing of beauty. A full 10 inches of independent wheel travel front and rear and a whopping 11 inches of ground clearance have their place in the world of ATVs, stiff ride or not. And when you need specs like these, only the Arctic Cat can deliver the goods in such a capable way. Steel racks, a 2-inch hitch receiver, and styled plastic round out a short list of bling. What really matters though is the low range and shiftable 4x4 with diff lock. Again, these are big bike features on a small bore bike, and it's specs like these that have the rider thinking more about the ride than the size of the engine. In a class with no real chassis size parameters, bigger is definitely better. And Arctic Cat's 450 EFI is big, fast, and extremely capable. In our opinion, these three things make it a strong contender for your hard-earned dollars.